Horsemen rise, your time is nigh. You felt death once, now no demise.
It is over. Your search is done. Let fate choose now, the righteous one.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
And welcome to the Agony of Positivity podcast. Mostly wrestling, but lots of other stuff. I am Ross. With me today, as pretty much always,
Saul.
Lurking in the shadows. Bacon sticks.
Like the lurking in the shadows.
Rhubarb pie or whatever it was last year.
Yeah. Smelling like bacon in your room.
You know, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show, but being in people's houses doing the carpet cleaning now, the amount of people who start cooking bacon is bizarre.
Like, while you're cleaning carpet?
Yeah, it's seriously once a week. I'm sitting there, I'm either like running around moving furniture or doing the cleaning, and all of a sudden it's like, do I smell bacon? You look and like the person's like got like an entire pack of bacon going, and it's like, there's two of you and you're older. You can't possibly plan on eating that much bacon.
You know what always cracked me up, and maybe you're noticing this too, when you go in people's houses, because this is just not how my family reacts. I remember growing up with my dad and everything. He made sure that we were all up, house was clean, ready, because anytime we had like a repairman over or whatever,
right,
he wanted all of us up, this active. He didn't want us sleeping and whatever. But in carpet cleaning, I've been in so many houses where people were like just sleeping on their couch, walking around in their underwear.
Haven't encountered that. Now, we had someone who worked like third shift, and they were they were out cold snoring while we were carrying up like for hardwood. We had to carry this. You're aware with. For anyone who doesn't know, imagine like the most awkward piece of luggage that you have filled with an anvil. That's basically how it feels like. It's not quite really that heavy, but it's just, there's not a good way to carry it. We had to like drag that up the stairs, all the hoses, and then the machine's like super loud. And she just slept right through it. But again, third shift, so I understand, like, if you can sleep heavy in your third shift, you'd be out too. So but yeah, no, it is interesting because I thought I saw it all when I delivered pizza, because I saw things that I wish I could undo in my brain when I close my eyes some nights if something reminds me of the insanity that people have. But with this, it's a totally different thing because you see how people live.
Oh yeah, you're in their house for at least a couple hours,
And I will be the first to admit that I'm not always the best at keeping up on my housekeeping. But, nah, I'm fine. I'm totally fine by comparison sometimes.
Sure.
Let's see. Now, speaking of scary things, because we're still doing kind of the Halloween spooky theme, but how's your week been? Any excitement or chaos? Or spooky?
A lot of chaos this week at the job, as you probably know.
Oh, jeez.
Things breaking down and just unorganized. So, hopefully,
next week will be better.
Next week will be better. So, but overall, I mean, I can't complain. I mean, I've not died or got any kind of serious accident on me or anything.
No return to the hospital or illnesses or anything.
No.
So I'm about to tell the most boring story I've possibly ever told.
Yes, I can't wait for that.
So I finally got like a free, so we got the Chipotle. I got my free burrito finally. So I'm done with Chipotle for a bit, I think. But I was like, I really do enjoy like a burrito. So on the way home, bought stuff. I bought basically like a ribeye steaks to use, like chop up and make like a steak burrito. some rice, some cheese, and like a couple different types of sauce to put on it or whatever. And so I chopped up the steak and I threw it into, like, I pan fried it with butter. It did, like, just like a seasoning mist with like garlic, salt, pepper, thyme, a couple other things. And the steak turned out so good chopped up that I just ate that instead of making the burrito, even though I had all the burrito stuff out there.
Okay.
The end. That's really all there is to the story, but it was one of those, like, this looks so good. Tasted a piece of the steak without it, and I was like, oh, I don't even need the burrito. I'm just going to eat this. This is awesome. Yeah. And then I was sitting there with... the thing is, I had the burrito shell out with the rice and the cheese on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I guess that's just going to sit there. So I have that in the refrigerator now. So, and that concludes the possibly worst story I've ever told.
Well, it's funny because I've been trying to drink hibiscus tea.
Yeah.
To, to try and get a little bit healthier or whatever. And I brought a tea pack in to work, and I was
now, is this for like a Keurig type machine or like a tea bag for hot water? Okay.
A tea bag for hot water. And anyway, so I make a little cup of hot water and put my tea in there and everything. And the guy I work with was like, "Are you just going to drink that tea just straight with no sugar or anything?" And I was like, "Well, the whole point of drinking tea is to get off of the sugary."
Right, you're still getting the caffeine, but you're not on the sugar.
Well, actually, I think hibiscus doesn't have caffeine in it. So,
well, there you go.
Well, in any case, the point I was trying to make to him was like, well, the whole point of drinking this is to drink something healthier, and I'm getting kind of bored with water. But yeah, but you put some sugar in there to make it taste better. I was like, well, if I'm going to do that, I might as well just drink a Coke. I mean,
right. I might have told you this story before, but when I did optical for a brief period, right around like 99, 2000. The lady I worked with, May is what she went by, but she was Chinese. It was like Jume, I think, is like, I'm not really good at pronouncing the name. It's been so long, but she just went by May because we're Americans and we're awful at foreign names. But
sure.
So for China, she was like super into tea. She had all, like, instead of a pot of coffee, a pot of coffee, we had a pot of tea constantly. Red tea, black teas, different types of teas. So like one of my first couple days, I poured the tea and I went to put some sugar in it. Yeah. And she lost her mind and explained to me that if I'm going to drink her tea, I'm going to drink her tea correctly and not ruin it with anything, no ice, no sugar, none of that stuff. You just drink it the way it's supposed to be drank. So, now I prefer like a sweet tea if I'm just going to grab one typically, but I appreciate for a hot tea just drinking it as it is. But I would agree, like, it's obviously better with sugar, but I could put enough sugar on my microphone and start licking it and it would be delicious. So,
yes.
Some sugar and some MSG and you're set.
If you do that, please make a YouTube video of that and then post it on there of you licking the microphone with sugar.
Well, I have the Flaming Hot Cheetos mac and cheese cup. I got the Tijuana Mama. I got the mallet to tenderize it and mash it. So I'm building up some material, maybe where I can do them all in like a day. Not back to back, because something tells me I'm not going to want to eat much after the Tijuana Mama. But try to like space them out so it's a couple weeks of content there or something.
Gotcha.
This is assuming I get home from work before like 7 o'clock one day in the near future.
Sure.
So how long has this been, like a week or two that you've been doing the tea?
Yeah, I think it's been 2 weeks, maybe a week.
Yeah. So are you totally off the caffeine at this point, or just like some here and there?
It's some here and there. I mean, I'll drink it if we're out at a restaurant or something, just because servers, I don't know what kind of server we're going to get, and I typically like to drink a lot of fluids. Yeah. So I normally order a water and a Coke or whatever.
Coke or Pepsi?
Yeah, I mean, wherever you're at, yeah.
Right. Typically Coke. I like to say Pepsi first, though. Pepsi or Coke? give Pepsi top billing because it should have it. All right. So let's see here. So for our scary stuff, I'm going to play our Horseman laugh. That's going to be our generic bumper here. It really drags on for quite a while. You had sent me, so it seems like it's our annual thing around Halloween where the Willard Library Ghost comes up the most.
Yes.
So now in my mind, like around Halloween time, you and your family, instead of like anything else, like waiting on the Great Pumpkin Halloween special, you guys just watch this on a webcam or something. Is how it is in my mind at this point.
It seems like my sister and I would always just watch this website because of all the ghost cams, and we did a thing about that last week.
Yeah.
It seems like the Willard ghost cam people are the most dedicated, at least trying to keep it updated and running. Because it seems like the other ghost cams, people just lose interest or lose funding or
something. As you say that, one of them went down for me. Oh, it's back. Maybe it was just refreshing. But yeah, so it looks like you had told me, like, hey, the Ghostbusters are there, and on the staircase, they have some kind of neon green, I don't know if it's like the LED style Christmas lights or something running up it. So
yeah, it looks like the LED Christmas light ropes.
Yeah,
and
just
it's
green.
Like green, and the entire like stairwell is lit up in green.
We'll put a link in the show notes for the Willard Ghost Cam, so people, if they are too lazy to type in willardghost.com, they can.
Yes.
I assume they're too lazy to scroll through the show notes, because I can count on one hand the number of times a podcast I listen to where I actually looked through the show notes and clicked on something. Like, it typically doesn't happen. So
I assume Beekman there has just crossed the streams and trying to get the.
Have you seen?
Trying to get Slimer, I guess.
Have you seen like the new Ghostbuster action figures by any chance?
No.
Okay. Just the short of it.
I don't know what happened to that because it seems like all of Hollywood has just disappeared. So I don't know.
Well, we know one thing's coming that's good, which we'll get to a little bit later.
Yes.
But yeah, there's like, it's like the highly articulated ones where they have like the multiple, like all the articulation. It's like that style of a figure for Ghostbusters. It looks kind of cool. The hope would be for me is that they'd go with some of the animated stuff though, and you get like Sam Hain.
Okay.
So, all right. But yeah, so the Willard cam is lame nowadays because people don't go anywhere. So you don't even see like a random person anymore on them. Hopefully that'll change one day. So
yeah, there's something far scarier in the world, and it's called the coronavirus.
Yes.
Or at least the fear of the corona.
It does many things.
Yes.
So we have a website where I found this. I was trying to find like scary facts or scary things about the world or whatever. Because some of the good stuff we've used up over the last couple years. So now it's like, I feel like we're scraping the bottom of the barrel in a way. So there's awesomeinventions.com, and then you can search scary facts about our world or whatever. And so I sent you the link for this. I'll go ahead and put the link into this as well, for the show notes for people to never click on. But one of the ones you noticed is the locked-in syndrome.
Yep.
And this is basically like sleep paralysis or whatever, where you're between being asleep and awake. You know you're awake. You can't move. You can only like look around. And it's basically like your body, I think it's a hormone that causes you to basically just not fly all over the place when you're having a dream. Whereas people who sleepwalk, a lot of times like that level is off or whatever, and that's what causes it. So now have you said you've experienced this?
Yeah, I mean, not a lot, but yeah, I mean, I've experienced it where I've been, in between the sleep world and the real world,
Yeah.
And you're just paralyzed. You can't do anything, but you know that you're in a dream world, and it's pretty spooky.
I would agree. I've had, because there's like lucid dreaming. Like you'll hear people talk about that, where like you're aware you're in a dream and you can manipulate or you can do what you want. Some people are like, oh yeah, I can fly in my dreams. Anytime I've been in a dream and I realized it was a dream, it is really not a dream I want to be in, and then I can't get out of it.
Sure.
I had like the weirdest, like I think everyone has like really bad dreams to where you wake up and you're like, I'm scarred from life from this dream.
Yeah.
I'm never going to forget this. And then 10 minutes later you're like, I don't know, there was like a set of dentures or something. That's all I remember about it. But when you first wake up, it's the most horrifying thing that's ever happened to you.
Yeah.
This one, I was at my grandparents' house, and for some reason, like across the street, there was a park with like softball fields and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know what was going on, but there was like a robot war of some kind, or some kind of war battle going on. If anyone has ever played US version, it'd be Final Fantasy 3. They had these little like mech robot things that they're gating it, and finally came back to the house, and it was everything had changed. They're like, the inside of the house was just the wrong layout. There were people there. So I went into the kitchen that had like this super high roof to it, or ceiling, and sat on top of the refrigerator for some reason, and was like reaching in to like, like kind of leaning over and like pulling out food to eat or whatever. And the person that was in the kitchen wasn't my family, wasn't friends. It was that random, faceless person that's always in the dreams, because I guess you only make faces of people you've seen or whatever. That whole weird thing. But yeah, it was like a faceless person basically. But they were talking to him, and they were like, because I think I threw something, because it was like, it's a dream, I don't care. Like I'm like throwing the food, like eating a turkey leg and throwing it or whatever. And the person looks up, and they're like, this might not be real for you, but this is our world. You should behave a little bit better.
Which is kind of spooky.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'm like, oh, I need to wake up now real quick, because they were like starting to come towards me.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, and I was like, well, time to wake up. And I could feel myself trying to wake up.
Yeah.
But the person basically was grabbing a hold of me somehow, like dream magic, I would assume. Like, they weren't close enough to touch me, but I could tell they were trying to hold me into the dream. But I could feel myself trying to wake up. And then I assume I had this, like, the sleep paralysis thing going at the same time. And I had to do, like, basically, like, I was held by my legs or something, I guess. Like, kicking real hard. And I wake up just, like, kicking the air. And that was one of, like, and that one was so, like, subtly threatening that was, like, in 2001, maybe?
Yeah.
And I still remember that one incredibly vividly to this day. Like, I can still see the dream as it's happening. And that was probably the worst scenario. As far as remembering. I've had all kinds of, like, Freddy Krueger shows up in your dream, or like bad things are happening around you. Nothing like that. So
now, have you had, and you probably have, I think everyone's been through it. Now, this happened to me back, I think it was on Monday, actually. I fell asleep on the couch at my house, and I woke up. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I woke up. And I woke up, and I saw that it was 2 o'clock. And for whatever reason, my brain thought it was like 2 o'clock in the evening time or afternoon, okay?
Right.
And I was looking around, and it's dark outside because it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was completely confused at what was going on. And it started, like, freaking me out, because I was like, what is going on here?
Right.
It should be, where's the sun at? And so in my mind, I'm having this little... I mean, I guess you'd call it a panic attack or whatever, but I'm like, did the sun disappear?
Did Superman finally try to move the planet? Is that what's going on here?
Yes. So, I mean, and just being that confusion for couple minutes, it's pretty spooky because you're like, well, what is going on here?
Yeah, well, I've had where you wake up and you kind of don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Now, I would love to talk to my wife about that because she is awful when she wakes up. Like, you could be like, if she woke up and I was like, hey, we won $1 million in the lottery, she'd be like, leave me alone. I don't want to talk to anyone right now. Even though it could be the best news in the world, does not matter.
Sure.
Now, what I used to run into a lot is this was back during school. I don't know if it's happened with any of my adult life jobs, but go to school, come home, you kind of fall asleep in the wintertime, and you wake up around like 6 o'clock or so, which would be normally school time, like get up for school.
Yeah.
Well, it's dark because it's wintertime, and
yes.
There are certain cues I could tell, like what time of day it usually was, just based on where people were. Like, you kind of wake up and you listen, and you can hear people doing certain things.
Sure.
Well, all the cues it was breakfast time. So yes. I got up, it's long before cell phones, so there's no way to verify. Like, you're not going to see anything. Like, all the clocks it's 6 o'clock. That's the end of it.
Sure.
In Roman numerals, because we had Roman numeral clocks for some insane reason.
That was terrible.
Yeah, wake up, take my shower, get dressed, bath, because we didn't have a shower because that's fancy. And then everybody's staring at me because I'm getting ready to go out for the bus.
Yes.
And then I find out it's 6 in the evening. Which no one... Now, keep in mind with this, I had to run bath water. So people hear, like, that makes a lot of noise when you're pouring gallons of water into a tub. No one thought, well, that's kind of strange behavior. Let's see what's going on. Like, nope, everybody just kept going.
Maybe they just thought, well, maybe Ross just feels a little dirty today and he wants to take a bath.
Could be. Be unusual to, like, come home, fall asleep, wake up at 6 in the evening, and then decide to take your bath as opposed to right when you got home. But
sure.
But yeah, no, dreams will do weird stuff. For that, there is for Nightmare on Elm Street. Have you ever heard like what the basis for that was?
No.
Okay. Well, excellent that you said that, because now I can tell you. Because if you would have been like, oh yeah, I know, let's move on. Not very good for the podcast. So Wes Craven.
Oh well, yeah, for else I do know. Let's talk about something else. That sounds stupid.
Like everybody knows that. There is basically a story, and I'm just using like the real super generic version of this. There is like a refugee child from the Cambodian genocide, is what this says. He was terrified to sleep for fear that he'd be attacked in his dreams and never wake up, something along those lines. And as I remember the story, and I'm kind of looking for it here, Freddy Krueger scared me growing up, by the way.
See, Jason scared me more than Freddy Krueger, I think.
See, Jason only killed teenagers and adults, and Freddy did not discriminate. Theoretically,
it's true.
Like, they never had him kill like children in the movies, but his whole existence came from some really horrible things. Whereas Jason was a victim, so a lot easier for me to get behind Jason. He's the face in Freddy vs. Jason to me. So, but yeah, so basically, eventually, like, the kid falls asleep. Parents think the crisis was over. They hear screams. And basically, like, by the time they got to him, he was dead. He died in the middle of a nightmare. But apparently, like, a lot of that, this is saying, now this part I never heard, the story Craven described wasn't an isolated incident. Dozens of Southeast Asian refugees in America died for unknown reasons in their sleep during the 1980s. They were usually among young men in their 20s and 30s from the, I don't know how to pronounce this, HMONG, Hmong ethnic group, and infected a large enough segment that it was like alarming to health experts. So, and it's possible there was something specific to something they had or their experiences, it goes on to say. But, so that's why, like, that basis is pretty horrifying to be like, oh, there was someone who was horrified to sleep, and when they finally did, they died. Sure. And then obviously fill in the blank what's going on. And I mean, I think everyone can appreciate how weird dreams can get real quick. And then you wake up again, like we were saying, like you wake up and you're like, oh my goodness.
See, I remember the one Nightmare on Elm Street. I think it was called the Dream Warriors.
Yeah.
And I think they missed. I didn't like it because Freddy. I understand that Freddy Krueger was the main bad guy, but you could never beat Freddy Krueger because I don't know. It's like there was like you could never beat him. He was always this immortal type thing. And
well,
I don't like.
You had to gather his bones and take him to a junkyard, and then fight a CGI skeleton.
I don't know. I think they missed a really good movie on that because he had the Dream Warriors. I was like, all right, this might be pretty cool because they can fight him on his own turf. And no.
Yes, but he can't die there, and then you have to bring him into the real world.
Yes. Yep.
And then that doesn't work either, even though you explode him in 3D with a pipe bomb and his face flies at the screen.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm looking
I remember
through
my cousin.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I remember my cousin was scared of dolls because of Chucky.
And dolls are creepy.
I never got. I just never understood that why people were scared of dolls.
Have you seen the old porcelain dolls?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want them in my house because I think they look god awful looking.
Yes,
but I never once thought they were going to come alive and attack me.
They freak me out. Like that
because
style.
At the end of the day, they're a doll. You can just boot them. You can just kick them really hard down the hallway or something.
Not if they're possessed. The other thing that doesn't help is apparently, and especially depicted in TV shows and stuff, if you have one of those old porcelain style dolls, the only place you can store it is in the basement or the attic with a light bulb that flickers in a rocking chair that's the perfect size for them, that is wobbly enough that it will just randomly go with cobwebs on it. So that doesn't help the image at all.
Sure, yeah, you make an altar to this weird porcelain. Yeah.
And then bad things happen.
Did you ever watch that Annabelle movie?
No, because that is the exact kind of thing that makes the dark scary.
I watched, I don't know, maybe like 30 minutes of it. And I just turned it off. I was like, this is dumb. I can't get into this.
How often, when you start to watch a movie, do you just give up on it and stop watching it?
Well, I do it a lot with horror films because horror films to me are they're just stupid. Their premise behind it is dumb to me.
Yeah.
And if it's so dumb that I can't get into your universe, then I just turn it off.
I unfortunately, for the most part, if I start a movie, I'm going to finish it.
Oh, okay.
No matter what. No matter how bad it is, I will suffer.
Now, you didn't finish that one terrible movie, the high school movie that.
That was a special kind of bad. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, there's movies like that, or E.T. or Goonies. Those are all trash tier movies to me. So, someone is angry right now.
I have never watched E.T. I've watched it from the start, and I think I've seen some of the middle. I don't think I've seen how the movie ends. So I guess E.T. kills the boy or something like that.
Yes, and then he takes over the world, and then eventually they conspire to give Senator Palpatine control of the Senate. So
yes. And that's how we got Independence Day.
Yes, exactly. They all tie together. No, what drives me insane with E.T. is, one, I'm sure I saw it when I was little, but I don't remember it. So I never saw it again until more recent times. What's her name? The female actor that Reese Witherspoon?
Drew Barrymore.
Yeah. I don't know. do those two look similar? Because I always confuse them, I think. But either way, yeah, Drew Barrymore, the little sister character in that, infuriates me. Because, again, a child is the cause of a large portion of problems in the movie. And it makes me mad. It's the laziest writing ever. Because, I don't know, just there's so many people in that movie that are dumb that I hate it. Like, I just cannot tolerate it. Like, I make fun of Goonies a lot because I know people love that movie, and it's not that bad.
Oh, yeah.
And there's different issues with that one where it's like, this is the plot of, like, every other movie in that time frame, it seems like. They probably did it a little bit better, but whatever. It didn't help that they had an awful Nintendo game that did not endear me to the franchise in any way, shape, or form.
Sure.
So I'm looking through this list of the 32, and there's really nothing that I found is interesting.
The one thing I found interesting was this says during World War II, an American plane crashed on a Japanese island. There was 9 men on board. 8 of them were captured and eaten. The one who was rescued was George H.W. Bush.
Huh.
I thought that was interesting.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I skipped over the title or the I don't know. When I see things like that now, where it's the picture and then the text box underneath, I just think it's going to be a meme. So I often just scroll through when there's a lot of words.
Sure.
Let's see here. Yeah, because some of the they have. It's weird that they have a picture of the Blair Witch picture, like with the chick with the toboggan on and like the tear coming out of the eye with the camera. Do you remember when Blair Witch came out? Like how So that was right around 2000 as well, right?
Yeah, because I think the internet was
new. Are you there? See, when this happens, I don't know if it's my internet or something has happened to Saul. If the Blair Witch got him.
And we lost Ross.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
So I think you were gone. Oh. Maybe not. Goodness. I'm back. All right. So we did lose me for a second there. Are you there?
Yes, I am there. Yes.
Oh my goodness. I have no indicator because I'm like hardlined in. So everything else was working. So I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But Blair, what you were saying, like the internet around the time this came out was like my comment was it was still new.
Yeah, it was like in its infancy there. So you couldn't really look it up to see like is this a real story or is it just made up? And
and they ran the companion piece. I think was it on History Channel where they did the Blair Witch documentary.
Yes. Yeah.
Talking about like they did something brilliant. But yeah, so in 2000, to the best of my knowledge, there had never been a movie that
I had a friend tell me that too. Yeah.
And maybe because I didn't get to see it, think that they just released this as a movie in a movie theater.
Sure.
Like, even though it had like limited release or whatever.
Yeah.
The thing that is terrible about Blair Witch is I'm pretty sure this was when every other movie was like, we need to do a found footage shaky cam movie.
Yes.
Because like Cloverfield.
Oh yeah.
That movie, I would prefer to just see that as a movie, as opposed to from their point of view, where I'm going to say something mean, and I'm not trying to belittle something, but people who have palsy are the only ones who are allowed to hold the camera, and are just shaking like so badly. And it's like you don't ever actually get to see anything.
Exactly. And so, like Cloverfield, I'm like, wow, this would be a really good horror, monster movie, if I could actually see the monster.
Well, I remember me and my wife went and saw it, and afterwards, like, you see a movie that's like almost like it was almost good, like the idea was awesome, and then it's like, well, maybe they'll do a sequel where it's, the military's point of view, but it's done like a real movie. But you'll see these guys in the background occasionally or something. And then literally nothing happened.
Yeah.
Because it was like, was it a sea creature? Did it come from outer space? And then you had people who like went down and broke it frame by frame. And there's like a clip in the beginning where they're at the fair or whatever, and you see something go into the ocean in the background. And it's like, is that part of it? Who knows? So maybe one day they'll finish that. Let's see.
Maybe it was a prequel to that one god awful movie of the
Cloverfield Lane,
where the robots were fighting monsters.
Oh, Pacific Rim.
Yes.
I never saw that, but I kind of wanted to. But it was just not. If I'm going to watch robots fight, I'll watch Optimus Prime.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, if you really want to do this, why don't you just do Voltron and or Thundercats or something? So,
where you get the same kind of thing.
Yes.
Does anything else on this list stick out to you?
Not
or do we want to save it? Because we've actually killed quite a bit of time with this.
Sure. I mean, we can save it. See if there's anything else in there. So.
Since we have spent more time talking about movies, it seems, do you want to talk about the other movie thing that we were going to talk about today?
Yeah, we can talk about the movie trailer.
I'll give us a bumper here real quick.
Maybe I could move the Earth out of the way. If we had a week, I couldn't list all the reasons that would. King Shark is a shark. Not the beast! Ah! Let's rock.
All right. So you had sent me, I didn't get around to watching it until this morning, but there is a film coming out called Fatman, which I thought it was going to be like some play on Batman, but it is not. It is I'll let you describe it, because I don't even know if I've come to terms with what I saw in the trailer.
I don't know. I mean, I guess so the movie is taking itself serious, which is always good when a movie takes itself serious, but it looks like it's just going to be goofy.
Yeah,
which I think in my mind makes good movies. I guess it's Santa Claus,
played by Mel Gibson.
Played by Mel Gibson, and I guess he does some kind of partnership with the United States Army or something, because I guess this kid hires his hitman to kill Santa Claus because I guess he
can't tell. I'm gonna go to the Fatman, the Wikipedia, because it seems like, so watching the trailer, I didn't realize it was Santa Claus until a little bit into it. It's only a couple minute trailer, but I was like, oh, okay, it's Kris Kringle. And then they're coming to, like, the military comes to him.
Yeah.
Or, let me back up. It gives me the idea that because the way times are, Christmas isn't quite the same as it used to be.
Sure.
So people don't believe, or whatever they're going for with that. But, yeah, the military comes to him because he basically knows who everyone is and if they're naughty or nice or all that stuff. Like, he has that. So I assume that's why the military is coming to him.
Yes.
And then, so the synopsis from Wikipedia says, to save his declining business, Kris Kringle, played by Mel Gibson, also known as Santa Claus, is forced into a partnership with the U.S. military. Making matters worse, Kris gets locked into a deadly battle of wits against a highly skilled assassin, Walt Goggins, hired by a precocious 12-year-old who got a lump of coal in his stocking. So it sounds like the two things are like separate. Like, I don't think that the assassin has anything to do with the military part. That's just he gave a kid who was a bad kid a lump of coal who's connected enough to hire like a top-rate assassin, I guess.
Yes.
So, but yeah, like what you were saying, like what I get from the trailer is it's absolutely ridiculous, but everyone is like they treat it as it is normal.
Yeah, so in this universe or this reality, whatever you want to look at it, Santa Claus is real, and the U.S. military knows that he's real, and they go to him. Yeah, it's just like I told you before we started recording. The greatest line in there was like the hitman's like, I'm here to kill you, fat man," and then Santa Claus yells, "You think you're the first one to try?"
Yeah,
and I'm just like, what is going on in this universe where?
Yeah. Well, how many people? Yeah, how many people are putting bounties out on Santa? Like, is Santa like a trophy kill at this point?
Exactly. Like, yeah.
So now, what's interesting about that is if this movie does any good, and again, total speculation because I've seen like 2.5 minutes worth of this thing, but could you imagine if they do like Fat Man Begins or something?
Oh, there is so many.
Where you go back.
You can do so much with this that, like you said, if it's popular, oh yeah. I mean, you could Jack Frost fighting or like I mean, whatever, so.
Well, they had what was that one movie where it was like, was it The Guardians or whatever? Where it was like Jack Frost and all the different, Santa Claus.
Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy. Which I thought was a pretty good movie. I guess no one else liked it, but I thought it was a different take on it.
Yeah, I like that one too. And I thought there would be more of them. And here we are. But yeah, so I'm assuming this thing might get released one day. But who knows? I saw something for like on demand. So there'll be a way to watch it one way or the other. But I'm definitely going to watch this thing when it comes out.
Sure.
Because now it's no Santa sleigh or whatever with Goldberg as Santa Claus.
Which
like
was
that was.
That was a goofy movie, yeah.
Yeah, that or any of the Krampus spins I was interested in. But this is just like action hero Santa.
Yes.
With Walton coming after him. So
it should be pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I'm almost more excited of the backstory of Santa Claus basically going Die Hard.
Yes.
Where like he's just like Santa, he's delivering presents, and all of a sudden like Craven shows up from Spider-Man or something and is hunting him.
Yes.
Is this owned by Disney? Because that would be actually possible if that was the case. Probably not. Let's see. So, all right. We got that stuff out of the way. I don't have anything else to add to it. I mean, like, the trailer is awesome. You should watch it, obviously, if someone's listening and hasn't seen it.
On Twitter, everyone had a problem that Mel Gibson was in it because of Mel Gibson's past or whatever. But
right.
I just looking at the movie for what it is, it looks entertaining. So
right. Yeah, I'm not gonna say. Yeah, I'm not here to debate if Mel Gibson has had a change of heart or not. But I'll watch this movie. You could argue if I were to justify giving Mel Gibson any money, he probably has enough money that whatever he makes off of this doesn't even matter. So you could view it that way, I suppose. We do not. We here at Agony of Positivity do not condone or agree with Mel Gibson in any of his personal opinions.
We have no opinion on it whatsoever.
Mel Gibson can do whatever insane Mel Gibson things he wants to do. Let's see here. Do we want to talk, because I don't have a ton of information on it, about Shadowlands for Warcraft? I feel like it would be a very short conversation that we could talk more about it next week.
I say we just talk about it next week because that's when the pre-patch comes out, so we'll have more to talk about next week.
If someone is listening to the show hoping that we will randomly talk about WoW on this particular one, I'm very sorry that you'll have to wait till next week.
Next week's pod is for you.
Yes, but Shadowlands does release this coming week. If you're thinking about taking the day off work, remember that pretty much goes bad.
Well,
so take the day after.
I don't think Shadowlands is being released this week.
Well, I'm sorry, the pre-patch event.
Yeah, the pre-patch.
But I would assume the servers will be a wreck like they always are, and then the day after is probably the better day. So that way you can come home from work when they got everything fixed, and then play into the night.
If you want some extremely broken stuff, that's usually the best time to play World of Warcraft.
Yes, if you can load into your server.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So, ready to go into the wrestling world?
Yeah. We're going to do... I got to push the button. Here it is.
Well, I don't know what the hell's going on here, folks. Looks like he's just wearing blue pants.
This is a revolution.
All right. So, we had a big week. There was... The NXT takeover was this week, and I didn't watch it. I saw Jericho talk about Baylor and other dude like breaking each other so they can't perform for months, which was a interesting. Man, wrestling fans have very strong opinions.
Sure.
Which I myself, I have strong opinions. However, if you disagree with me, I'm not going to tell you you're an idiot. I don't understand.
For whatever reason this week they were bashing Jericho because they said he was a Trump supporter or whatever, and I don't think he's a Trump supporter per se. I think he just got tired of people wishing, because people were wishing that Trump would die of coronavirus and everything, and Jericho was saying, you guys need to take a long, hard look at your life.
Yeah, I saw something on that where someone was like, well, he's liked Trump-related tweets or something. Yeah. I don't really know. But yeah, I'm still going to go with let's not wish for people to die of a virus that if you do get it, and if you're someone who's having the severe version of it, very good.
Just wishing people to die in general. I mean, of anything. Yes. I mean, you need to take a long, hard look at your life.
No. I'm going the different way. If you're gonna wish someone to die, I think you should wish for it to be merciful though and quick, and take out their whole family so there's no grieving. We're wiping the population down. We're going Thanos style with this. Sure. And if you don't agree with me, you're wrong.
No, I agree with Jericho. So stop wishing people to die. There's something wrong with you.
Yeah. But yeah, so I tried to watch TakeOver, and I don't know what it was, but something just, I saw the, I think it was Priest Gargano match. Watched that, and then I was kind of sort of watching it, and then I just fell asleep and read the results. So, did you watch it at all?
No, I didn't watch it at all.
Okay. So I tried harder than you did. So the other big thing, so that's the generic talk. We got where they're doing the draft again. So I have pulled up here on the official site of WWE round 1 of the draft. So this is going to be super casual version of going over this thing because I don't understand how they did it. In the past, they've done the random lottery draw. I'm guessing on this one, you could actually pick people.
Okay.
Do you have any idea?
I mean, I saw that Stephanie McMahon was out
announcing stuff.
So I don't even know who the. So what is the storyline? Who are the authority figures or GMs?
We of the WWE universe. Remember when all the McMahons came out and tried to blame Baron Corbin for it or something, and they're like, "We're going to listen to the fans," and then they proceeded to not listen to the fans at all and do exactly what they were going to do anyway.
Yes.
That whole thing happened.
So there's no authority figures or GMs right now in WWE.
I don't think. I'm trying to think. I don't think there is a general manager. Now there's Adam Pearce, I think is the guy's name, who's been running around on SmackDown, who's kind of like a go-between or something. So, But yeah, I don't think there's someone calling the shots currently.
Gotcha. Okay.
Man, that makes me wonder because, yeah, I don't think it is set up that way now.
It's funny. It's funny how
Like I don't.
Eric
It bothers
Bischoff-
me that I don't know.
It's funny that because I think Eric Bischoff's the one that started all that, and then McMahon followed. That there was like an authority figure, kind of ruling the thing, or did Vince McMahon start that? I don't know. It seems around that era. That's when we started getting the GMs and the authority figure behind everything.
Yeah, I don't think there is technically anyone playing that role right now.
No, okay.
I watch it and it doesn't. Oh my goodness! Anyone who's a WWE fan listening to this is infuriated right now that we know so little.
How do you not know that?
I should. I mean,
Blah, blah, blah.
I watch it enough that if there was one, but I'm pretty sure it goes back to the fans are going to run it or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, so Raw, it looks like, is keeping Drew McIntyre. SmackDown's keeping Reigns.
Okay.
Asuka's staying on Raw. Women's champion. SmackDown got Seth Rollins over.
Okay.
And then, now this is going to come into question later, for sure. So far it's been all single picks, however that worked. But then Raw gets the Hurt Business, which includes Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, and MVP.
Yeah.
Which I've grown. I've watched more SmackDown than Raw. Like SmackDown, I just think has been better by and large for a long time. So when I do find time to watch, like I'll make a little bit more time for SmackDown for sure. I've enjoyed the Hurt Business. At first, I was skeptical, but it's come along nicely for me. So we go with that. Round 2. Looks like AJ Styles is going to move to Raw.
Okay.
Sasha Banks is staying on SmackDown. Raw's got Naomi. SmackDown has Bianca Belair, which I thought she was NXT, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And then Raw gets the women's tag team champions, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Now again, tag team. They got multiple people here. Round 3. Like, so I would say the biggest thing here is AJ Styles going to Raw. It feels like these drafts to me don't mean anything. Like, you're still going to get the same stuff for the most part. Like, I can't be excited for it.
Sure.
I also still think they should just merge championship, like one world champion, they can go to either show. Tag team champion, go to either show. Combine the Intercontinental and the US title again, or whatever. Like unify them or do something. Go between shows. Like, I don't know.
The whole.
I know there was a big discussion about that early on when they were doing the split with Fox and everything. I still think that's pretty sure that's better.
Yeah, the two champions. I'm not a big fan of it.
Because eventually you have to assume they're eventually going to merge again one day, because that's just how it goes.
Sure.
So Raw's got Ricochet, so I guess he can go and continue the feud with the Hurt Business, or continue, whatever, that whole thing. Like, I like Hurt Business. I don't like the feud they've had. Like the other people, they just seem like they're there for no reason.
Sure.
Jey Uso staying on SmackDown. Raw has Mandy Rose for the whole Mandy Rose Otis thing, I guess.
So is the other Uso guy? I don't know his name.
Jimmy.
Is he hurt or something?
He was hurt, so I don't know how that works with that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So SmackDown keeping Dominic and Ray, and then Raw's getting Miz and Morrison. I always get hopeful when Miz moves somewhere that it's finally going to be his time again to get a world title. I think he's much more. Fan. Miz is good. Miz has put in a lot of work, and I feel he does not get the respect he deserves.
Yeah.
That's why with my action figures, when I play with them in between Hearthstone turns, he had a table match feud with Scott Hall as Razor Ramon and obliterated him. Unfortunately, The Miz ran into the Ultimate Warrior, trying to become #1 contender, and it did not go well for him.
your universe is in between Hearthstone matches is quite interesting.
So I'll talk about. I feel like a genius because I found an Ultimate Warrior. It's the orange one that comes with like the Winged Eagle belt. So now I have a dilemma because I don't really have enough figures to have a secondary title.
Okay.
Now, when the next AEW set comes out, I can look into that. I was like, I'm using the AEW title that I got with the Jericho.
Yeah.
I cannot make... I want to use the Winged Eagle belt, but I can't make that a secondary title. And I'm not going to make the AEW title a secondary title. So I have to wait to find somebody who comes with the Intercontinental title, I'm pretty sure. Or if they make the TNT title, whichever one I get a hold of first. But I think I'm going to use the Winged Eagle. Remember when Ric Flair was the real world champion?
Yes.
And had the NWA belt, or the big gold in WWE? I think I'm going to use the Winged Eagle belt and eventually do that whole storyline with somebody one day.
Ross, you and your storylines.
So I'm going to derail this even further. Are you familiar with the Rainmaker that Okada does? Like the ripcord short arm clothesline? So for my wrestling figures, the Ultimate Warrior, that is his finisher now. Instead of the press slam and the splash combo or the shoulder dive and that, he still does those moves. I was like, I just don't buy that as a finisher. What could the Ultimate Warrior actually do as a finisher that would be brutal? And just watching his normal clotheslines, could you imagine him doing the Rainmaker to you and just potatoing your face with a short arm clothesline as strong as he was? So, sure. I was like, it fits his move set because he has pick you up and throw you, clothesline you, or dive into you. Those are his three moves, and that fits that combination of clothesline you and just hit you. So
there you go.
But okay, now back to the draft. Although I feel my figure federation is possibly more interesting than Raw to me at some points.
Sure.
So Raw takes the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods.
Yeah.
Now, how come earlier Raw was able to take the entirety of the Hurt Business?
Yeah.
But now they are not able to take the entirety of the New Day, which has one less person. Or did Big E somehow get chosen by SmackDown, but they didn't take the tag team champ? Like, I don't understand why you're drafting a faction and then you're not drafting the other faction.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. Unless, I guess, maybe in real life, New Day's merchandise sales have kind of went down a little bit, so they're like, all right, time to break up the team.
No. I would wager an awful lot of money that they are more valuable as a three-piece unit than as a part.
Sure.
I just don't understand. Because the other thing that they did is, where is it? I gotta find it. Sorry. Somewhere along the line it was speculated that Otis is going to get separated from Tucker for Heavy Machinery.
It looks like that's already happened.
Has it?
I don't know, because if you look further down, it says SmackDown. Mr. Money in the Bank's Otis.
Oh, there it is. I overlooked it. Yep. I was looking for just Otis. So yeah, that makes me wonder if Tucker is going to go to Raw to split them up for...
disappears.
I mean, it could be. But why is it? So we have seen SCU is the example I would go to, where Scorpio Sky was basically like, hey, I'm going to focus on singles. These guys are going to focus on tags. But even though he wasn't coming out all the time with SCU, they were still, obviously they were friends. If one of them got jumped, they'd still be involved. They'd occasionally have the three main matches, but he's focusing on singles. Why would you not just do that with New Day?
Different federation, different owner.
Well, right. It's one of those, this just seems like you're breaking them apart. Now, they could have a long-term story that's going to be awesome out of this. I'm going to say probably not, though, based on history. Like, this is their way of giving Big E a singles run, but they could do it where he's like, yeah, I just don't want your guys' help. I got to prove to myself I can do it on my own, kind of deal. I don't know. That stuff drives me insane.
I think Big E, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods, they're all supportive characters that need each other. They are not main characters.
Like on their own.
They work well as a trio.
Well, they're friends. Like, I like to see them together because they're actually having a good time.
Sure.
Like, seeing them separate, like, I'm assuming they'll still be unofficially like a group, but you totally split them off from each other. You cannot have any interaction. I don't know. I just don't have faith that there's a long-term story for that, and it's not what I want to see out of it. So, I mean, I want to see Big E have like a shot to go for like a singles run on his own, sort of. But I mean, you can just not have Kofi and Xavier around him all the time. Xavier. So, I don't know. Just that drives me insane. It doesn't make any sense.
Vince McMahon, man. It's Vince McMahon.
You have to assume. All right, so moving on from the draft, I mean, there's not a lot we can add here. So, Dynamite, 30 years of Jericho, which is totally insane to think about in a way. Now, granted, we didn't get like 40 years of Hogan or anything like that, but some of the people that were doing like the well wishes to Jericho, I was actually surprised by. Like, from his podcast, I know he has like some ins with like an awful lot of people, but it was surprising to see.
It definitely seems, the one thing I got out of all this, it definitely seems that AEW and New Japan's relationship has kind of went forward.
Well, there was the one guy that was part of New Japan that was listed as not wanting to work with them. I'm super summarizing this, but there was someone that was in a higher up position with New Japan that is no longer with them that might open, as Tanahashi says, open the forbidden door.
Yeah.
So, but to all of a sudden see that, and there's been an awful lot of references that weren't there before, like Moxley and Archer, where they're full on talking about New Japan now as opposed to just alluding to it. So, hopefully
several times during the broadcast, Xavier Woods,
Excalibur.
Excalibur.
It sounds so close at the beginning.
Sure, Excalibur mentioned New Japan, so who knows?
Something I would really like to see is because apparently, like, Best Friends, they do the Okada Rainmaker thing, but they're friends with Okada, or they know him well enough that they've talked to him, and they actually showed Okada like footage of where they do his pull-out thing for the hug. And I guess he thought it was hilarious or something, is what he was saying. So hopefully we can see Okada in AEW one day fight somebody, because that guy, he is so good. He just obliterates the Best Friends.
Yes, and we never see them ever again.
I love how much you dislike them. It's like me when anyone wrongs Dean Malenko.
All I can say is that they are lucky that I am not a part of the VP group, because if I could trade them to WWE
to anywhere,
anybody, I would get rid of them in a heartbeat.
Like, do you guys got like a filled up Gatorade machine or something? I'll give you these guys for it.
Yes.
Be like, I'll throw in the van too.
Give me any tag team that you don't like in NXT, and I will give you these guys. You just have them.
Man, that would be terrible to get traded. If you're a tag team, could you imagine be like something weird happened? It's like, yeah, we traded your contract to WWE. Like, oh man, we're doomed. Good luck, brothers. All right.
Guy from Kentucky, you probably are going to get cut.
You sound too Southern. What? Oh, no, I don't. So we kick off. I was surprised this match kicked it off, but Brian Cage against Will Hobbs for the FTW Championship. Did you? So all in all, so we briefly talked about this during the week. You didn't really care for this episode of Dynamite as a whole?
As a whole, no. I thought it was
I thought it was okay, but now I'm wondering, because I've seen other people say they were not a fan of this episode. So I'm wondering if we go through this, if I'm going to be like, well, I like 3 segments, and then the rest I didn't care about. And I might change my mind by the end. But
the Brian Cage Hobbs thing I thought was pretty good. I thought they did a good job of showing Hobbs, but not letting Hobbs win. I don't think Hobbs should have won this. So
right.
I agree with this.
Well, he's still technically like rookie mode, I guess you could call it, kind of thing, where like he's new, like by their consideration, he's new to AEW, like he just got signed or whatever. He is using, I assume to your delight, the Spinebuster is what he used as a finisher on Dark. So, these guys just like threw big power moves at each other.
Yeah.
Which was nice to see. I will say this. I feel like Taz did an excellent job of building up Hobbs, even though he lost. But being like, oh, I think Cage is going to win, but we got to be careful because Hobbs could absolutely mess things up for us.
Well, and I understand that the coronavirus messed things up with Lance Archer and Taz's group and everything.
Yeah.
But it's almost like they was like, okay, we're just going to forget that and move on from that, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, this is like kind of carryover from it because it was Darby and Hobbs. We're going to be fighting Cage and what's his name, Ricky Starks. So they're carrying on, but yeah, like whatever overlying story they were going to put with it, they kind of dropped that and just went ahead with a couple of the matches. It seems like
feels a little WCW to me.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, yeah, because it's like seems like there could have been a little bit more going with it. I mean, they tried like towards the end of this match, like once the match is over. And Last Will and Testament is what he's calling the Spine Buster. So,
yeah, I did like how they offered Hobbs a position in Taz's group.
Which again was Taz saying that, you know, he was impressed by him. So it seemed to me, it feels like that's about the most you can build a guy up, even though he got beat.
So do you think making Hobbs the good guy is probably the best way to go, or do you think turning him heel would be the best way for his career?
He occasionally has a snarl that I could see him being a heel, but knowing his story is going to be hard for me to root against him.
You can't. Well, you just can't mention the story.
Yeah, ever again.
It doesn't work with a heel character. So.
Right. Now because he didn't actually officially answer. Darby came out and kind of was back up to him. I almost thought he was going to turn on Darby for a second there. Which, I mean, imagine you're a new wrestler. Taz, of all people, is offering you to join his group with Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. That's, you could definitely give a story of that's pretty appealing. Because Taz is basically going to be like your manager. He's going to be your guy to go to. Reliably. Like, he's treating it like business. Or your friends are Darby Allin, who's constantly throwing himself off random high objects. That's not really going to help you out too much. And then you got Moxley, who's constantly involved with somebody trying to not only take the title from him, but they want to actually injure him.
Yeah.
And he's a bit of a maniac on his own. When you weigh those two options, Team Taz doesn't seem so bad.
Yeah, realistically, you would choose Team Taz because Team Taz in the long run is going to get you more notoriety.
Notoriety.
What I'm trying to look here. Yes.
Now, as far as like if you have Darby and Mox on your side, is super strong because you know they're going to kill themselves to help you out. assuming they're there and they're capable of it and they haven't already been killed by something. So,
yes, exactly.
Personally, if I'm in that situation, Darby turns around and he eats my spine buster.
Sure.
I would not be using a spine buster because I'm not big enough to make it look impressive. So I would probably do like a super kick or something along those lines. But
sure.
And then people would be like, I can't believe another guy doing a super kick. And then I would just, all of a sudden, I would understand how to do a Canadian destroyer.
Yes.
But yeah, so to me, it would be hard to root against him, but I could understand choosing Team Taz for sure.
Oh, sure.
Like, I was supposed to have a tag match with Darby, but he got hurt throwing himself off a demolition derby. I don't even know how that works because they're not elevated, but that's what he said, so I'm on my own.
So you got so moving on to FTR here.
Yeah.
Did you like the match?
So when this match started, when TH2 came out, I was like, I really like their music.
Sure.
I don't know why. I don't generally like that style, but something about it is really good. Angelico doing the Bernie dance still cracks me up every time.
Sure.
But yeah, I was basically like, this is going to be like 7 minutes, and I don't really care about this match. Once this match started and went on, by the end of it, I actually liked TH2 a lot more.
Yeah.
Now they've had tons of matches, and I've been like, oh, they're good, obviously, but something in this match. So I have to credit it to FTR, I assume. Like that's the big difference here. But yeah, like I was super into this match by the end.
Sure. Until the best friends came out, and I was like,
and you're like, wow, go back to doing the weird dance. What is wrong with
they're just I can't stand them because they come out wearing the hot dog shirts. You're a bunch of weenies. I'm like,
that's their whole thing is they're completely immature. Just they don't fit. I think that's the whole thing.
Well, they achieve it well because I'm just like, you guys are just lame. You guys,
like they could save you from a burning building, and you'd be like, I can't believe that you guys did it that way.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we got best friends challenging for FTR next week. So,
and it's not a brush for greatness match. It's a legitimate match. So that means you're probably going to get to see about 27 minutes of best friends.
Yeah. Can't wait.
You know what I think? Going back to the match with TH2, I think one of the things that has helped me more is they've really put over the contrast in styles more lately. Like the one guy's submission, and then Evans is like the high flying kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that helps a little bit, but like, I don't know exactly what it was in this match. But yeah, like I'm more into TH2 as a result of this match than when they walked out, 100%. So let's see, more MJF doing his whatever it is. All right, this is the match that seems to have everybody divided because people are either super irritated. I'd like to break this to two things: the result of the match and the match itself, like leading up to that moment. People are either like, we'll see what happens, or they're like, oh my god, what are you guys doing?
Oh yeah, they on Instagram they were roasting
the company.
Yeah.
Or whoever made the call on it. But yeah, we got the dog collar match, Mr. Brody and Cody. And they have Greg, I tried to put his whole name in one word. Greg Valentine was ringside because they have the most famous dog collar match of all time. Truth be told, I did not know that they had the most famous dog collar match of all time until I was told repeatedly by Excalibur. So
yes.
So they have like the big, like the picture-in-picture for me, like on Fight, like there's a big thing of them like getting collared up and all that stuff, like just really dragging it out. It was driving me crazy that like the padding on Cody's collar immediately flipped up. But
Sure.
So I enjoyed that Silver, right from the get-go, got busted open and obliterated like twice. For just no reason other than poor Silver.
Yes.
And then Anna Jay had to come out and get him out of there because he was going to die at the rate they were going.
Yes.
So eliminate like the last few minutes when we get to the finish. Like just the back and forth of the dog collar match. How did you feel about that?
So yeah, I mean, I thought the match itself was good. Yeah.
Like, did anything stick out to you, or you're like, oh, like, I mean, we pretty much called that Cody was going to bleed.
Sure.
Mr. Brody bleeds. John Silver bleeds. I was waiting for the referee to bleed. Truth be told, like just like no one would expect this. I mean,
I thought. I mean, it's hard to make a dog collar match good.
Well, you could see.
I don't know.
Brody got tangled up in the chain constantly.
Sure.
So I don't know if Cody was like walking around his house with Pharaoh, like where they were both so he got used to moving around with the chain because he didn't seem to have the issues that Brody did.
Sure.
That was a little distracting, but I mean it's realistic. So I would love to like talk to both of them. Like, so when you were getting tangled up, were you just like, was that intentional? Like, was there that much thought into it, or was it just like, oh, I didn't realize the chain would be this big of a pain in the butt when it, with a bunch of slack to it?
Well, the thing that really, out of everything, really caught my eye was how Brody Lee, Captain America's that steel chair at Arn Anderson's head.
It happened so fast I couldn't be scared, but afterwards I was like, that didn't seem like he threw it that much higher than Arn.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, when they got in the back, Arn Anderson's like, whoa, buddy, you about took my head off that chair.
And they're like, all right, no more throwing chairs at anybody.
Yes. Because he just, like I said, he Captain America that chair at Arn Anderson. I was like, whoa, buddy.
Yeah, no, it was scary.
Yeah.
So I feel like with this match, I think they could have done more, but it almost feels like they were like, you know what? Let's not go insane with the dog collar match, so that if we ever do one again, there's actually things that you can see that are new with it.
Sure.
Because, like, look at a ladder match nowadays. Like, ladder matches don't even register to me at this point, for the most part. Sure. Now, the Sami Zayn one where he did the handcuff stuff, that was amazing because I've not seen that previously.
Sure.
So I do like that. It's like the first ladder match. Well, not the first publicized one with Shawn and Razor. Like, they used the ladder, but they didn't get crazy with it, so it escalated as you got into TLC and all that stuff. So I'd like to think that maybe they took it easy on the dog collar and didn't do everything they could possibly think of, and just were like, let's try to make this make sense and not just be like us hanging each other constantly or something like that. But yeah, I mean, did it feel like a brutal match? Because it looked like the shots with the chain to each other were pretty rough.
Yeah.
Because there was one time, I think Brody wrapped his fist up, and it looked like he just blasted Cody in the face for real.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it looked like I thought the same thing too when I was watching it.
Trying to think, they did.
I don't know, man. The match itself. I mean, the whole storyline. I'm just like, this does not. I don't know. I don't think it helped anybody.
It feels out of place for how they. Like, if you look at all the other stories they've done, this one feels rushed, perhaps.
Something. I mean, I'm just like, why is Cody back so soon?
Right.
I mean, I understand he likes wrestling, but
yes,
I don't know. I'm just like, why? So what does it do to take the title off Brody Lee?
right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Let's get to the finish of it and discuss that because it confuses me a little bit. So
Sure.
So one point, like Arn does like a spine, like there's all kinds of stuff going on. Cody hits an awesome moonsault. Like it was that was a really good moonsault when he gets Brody with it. Brody actually, I guess you could call it like no sells the crossroads the first time he gets hit with it. But we saw that with like Moxley hitting him with the Death Rider, where he just couldn't put him down. Final result is Cody wraps it like through his mouth, around his nose, around his eyes, and just starts wailing on him, and then hits Crossroad and actually gets the pin. So Cody wins the TNT Championship back. And then he cuts like the biggest crying babyface promo you will ever see, which is going to lead to him and Orange Cassidy, which is a match I would like to see. But yeah, so the logic behind this is a story.
Yes.
So Brody wins the belt in, very dominant fashion, but you can go with like the Nightfall style storyline where Cody was basically at the end of his rope because he had been defending it so often. So eventually he was going to lose to somebody, and Brody happened to be that guy and was just ready for him, and Cody wasn't prepared. And then because Brody is a bad guy, he takes it further and puts Cody out for a while. So far, so good. Cody comes back. Oh no, I just threw my microphone across the room. So Cody comes back. I mean, really all he did was just beat him up pretty bad and hit him in the head with the belt. So the time frame for him coming back, that's fine for me. I could see keeping him out a little bit longer, but whatever. I can have that explained away, I guess. Like I'm okay with that. But then comes back, they decide to have a dog collar match, and then Cody wins the belt back. It seems like, based on everything else AEW does, this should have played out till minimum. That like this should have happened at the pay-per-view if it was going to happen.
Yeah. Because this match was Brody Lee's choice. He's the one that chose the dog collar match,
right?
And for him to get this destroyed, I mean, he wasn't destroyed. I mean, it was a back and forth type thing. But
he loses.
And I'm just like, oh, okay.
Right. And
the first real challenge that you get for your title, you lose it. So it makes Brody Lee look bad. Right.
Well, which, it hurts Dark Order. Because going into him winning the TNT belt, we're like, yeah, he really needs to win this match. I think us and a lot of other people were thinking that. And then when they did it, we were like, holy crap. That's pretty strong for Dark Order as a whole.
Sure.
And then, he was running with the title and had like a few defenses, and that's fine. This just seems to derail that. So, and it was also weird because he was like on Twitter, and they talked about it, so I guess that's within the show, basically saying that, oh, good job, Cody, or I respect you, or, whatever it was. Like, that was a hard-fought match. It just feels weird. Like, and the thing is, I would say that the follow-up is going to be key, which is true, because if they do something else that makes this make sense, that's fine. But we go back to Scorpio Sky. We thought, oh, he's going to lose this match because it was built up a big deal.
Yeah.
We were going to get something. And it feels like we got nothing for Scorpio Sky. So now I have the fear that, Dark Order just moves on, or are they going to set up I need to see what they do next to overall. But yeah, at the moment, I'm a lot closer on why would you do this.
So Brody Lee and Dark Order have you can do something with their storyline. You can maybe you're going to rearrange the Dark Order, by kicking some members out or whatever you do with that. So you can go somewhere with that storyline. Cody's storyline, he pretty much said, people said, I'm going to do a darker path, but forget that. I'm for you people. I'm like, what?
Well, that sounds more like he's turning heel next week to me.
Maybe.
That's almost like I know I'm going to be turning heel, but I do want the people to know how much I actually care.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get this out of the way, and it makes me look like a bigger jerk.
So if they go that route, cool. That's good. But if they just keep Cody as a good guy, no, this whole thing was stupid.
Yeah, without some kind of big shift.
Because why would you introduce Orange Cassidy if you're not going to turn Cody heel? So
right.
Maybe, like you said, they are going to turn him.
Right. That would be my thought. Is he legitimately meant what he said, but he's 100% going to be a bad guy. I would say Orange Cassidy would be the person to turn against. And you could see, if I'm obviously fantasy booking here, I could see Cody being like, Orange Cassidy, you're a joke to the business that runs in my family, something along those lines. Yeah. And just obliterates him for some reason. And then he has a built-in feud with the best friends as a result. And then you pay it off with maybe Cassidy being the one to take the title off him or whatever. But you open up a lot more with Cody being heel. So
yes.
That would make it okay, because then you have, again, I'm pretty sure I think good guys chasing the bad guy for the belt overall is better most of the time. Obviously, you want to have
you already have the fans kind of turning on the Nightmare faction.
Yes.
So yes.
Now I will before we move on from this. What did you think of the black and the grayscale Nightmare family shirt? Or did you even notice?
I noticed it. It's fine if you're going to be heels.
Right.
If you're going to be bad.
I saw it, and I was like, I actually really like that shirt. I currently have it in my Pro Wrestling Tees cart to maybe buy. I wish they would have had a hooded sweat jacket with it, though, because I would wear that because it's wintertime. Like
I said, it looks good if you're going to be a heel. If you're going to be the good guy, Cody, no, it's dumb.
Right. Yeah, it feels set up to take him that route, but who knows? All right. But yeah, that seemed to be the most controversial thing out of this entire show. So it's basically where we were with Scorpio Sky, where it's we need to see what happens, I guess. But I'm still waiting for them to do something with Scorpio as a result, and they did nothing. So it just feels like it was oh, that story's over. We'll put him away now.
Yeah, I mean,
and maybe that was his decision, but I wanted something.
I'm starting to see cracks in Tony Khan's booking here.
Right.
It says he's the one that writes the storylines.
Yep.
And I'm starting to see, you are not really good at keeping a storyline going. You're more WCW right at this point.
Right. Well, I mean, compared to our alternative, they're still doing much better. But because currently I'm still in that benefit of the doubt thing for how things are going to play out. But once I start seeing a few things where it's that seemed like it was really being built up for something, and then nothing happened. This seems like it should build up something big. Hopefully something comes out of it. We'll see. We did get more names for the championship tournament contender thing. The one that Wardlow, I'm a fan of Wardlow, Colt Cabana, and Hangman Page. So no surprise. Well, I was not surprised that Hangman Page is in this thing. Are you?
No. I figured he would find his way.
Yeah, I can't imagine a world where Page and Omega aren't the finals. Unless they do something where they're like semifinals just to throw us off. But if they don't fight in this tournament, I will be amazed. Unless they do some weird tease to just make it last a little bit longer. But it's a pay-per-view match for sure.
Now, if they put them back as a tag team...
from Godzilla being like, let them fight.
I think people want Kenny to be bad guy, whatever he was in New Japan.
Yeah.
The cleaner. And make that happen. To keep teasing it and not letting it happen, I think you're hurting AEW.
Right. Well, I'm assuming he's going to turn heel on Hangman. 100%.
Let's hope.
Yeah. Because Hangman is going to be like Hulkamania here when we get fans back, unless they somehow mess him up. I don't see how they could at this point.
Yes.
He has a pretty locked-in character that seems pretty easy to write.
And he's built up his immunity by taking beer from people over the past year. Well, so he's
there was on Being the Elite, I thought it was an interesting little segment where Brandon Cutler was talking to him, being like, hey, I'm trying to smooth things over for you and the Bucks or whatever. But Heyman was kind of done with it, and he was like talking about when he asked them to second him for the title match and they wouldn't do it for him. And he was going through that, and he was like, you know what? Now I'm going to change the wording a little bit here, but he was like, you know what? I get that what I did, I'm a piece of crap or something. He was like, but you know what? They are too. Basically saying like, yeah, I screwed up, but they're not without blame in this whole thing.
And now I'm going to go throw watermelons at stuff.
Yes. And then he continued to post about throwing watermelons at trees and other random things.
Yes.
But they brought up that, so they talked to Kenny Omega backstage, and he constantly is bringing up Paige or a tag team wrestler like it's 100% on his mind.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was supposed to be him trying to mess with Hangman, or if that was sowing the seeds where he'd prefer not to fight Hangman one-on-one, like he's afraid of him. Or it's something that he's concerned. Like, I don't know what they were going for, but it was laid on pretty thick. Like, it'd be hard to miss it.
Yeah.
All right, so we got Big Swole and Serena Deeb. This leads to Big Swole getting a title match, it looks like. But I watched this. I still don't like Dirty Dancing as a finisher.
No, I don't either.
I'm okay with like the ripcord into like the elbow. I just don't like that she spins around for the discus elbow at the same time. How do you not scout that move and just lay on the ground? As soon as she throws you, just fall, and you're out of striking range.
Exactly.
All right.
So I didn't watch this match. So she got a title shot, you said?
Yeah, she's basically number one contender for Shida next week, is what I saw. So, which I think should be good. I imagine they'll both just hit each other really hard. So,
see, I've not seen a lot from Big Swole that says that she's really ready to be
in that match. I mean, they got to put somebody in there.
They do.
I've seen some.
And Sheeta's really, really good at putting people over. So.
Yeah, well, and I've seen matches where I'm like, oh, she is really good. And I've seen other matches where I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with this match. And I've seen her have good matches, so I don't think it's all on her. Like, this match was a good match. Deeb knows what she's doing for sure.
Sure.
It's just weird because you see people and you're like, well, I would not have thought these two were going to have a terrible match. Who knew that putting a coal miner's glove on a pole?
The best match I saw her was that Britt Baker match. That was great.
Yeah. Yeah, super jacked Britt Baker. Largest shoulders in wrestling. I need to see a recent picture of her again. Like, maybe it was just because she was in there with somebody smaller or something. But she just seemed massive. All right. So Moxley has his promo for the match against Archer. I thought it was kind of a pretty good promo because it does give way where he's accepted that eventually somebody is going to beat him. So it makes you wonder, maybe Lance Archer will be the one to do it. I don't think so, but maybe.
Hope so.
Right. But again, we got that, like, them mentioning the New Japan match. So,
Yep.
really what's going to happen is, since last I knew, Moxley is still the U.S. champion for New Japan, maybe they're just going to pretend to have a relationship so they can get the belt off of him to somebody in New Japan who lives in the States, so they can have their belt back, and then they'll be like, nope, never mind. It's like a long con.
Maybe.
All right, so our main event, 30 years in the making. Oh, man.
Yeah.
So I listened to Jericho's podcast, had Luther on it. Part 2. I think I said last week, I've started to grow to like Luther.
Yeah.
Possibly just his dedication to, I'm doing this 100% no matter what, and that's going to be the end of it.
Oh.
Like, this is what I am, and I'm not changing for anybody. So I'm at that point where I want to like him. Serpentico's pretty good. Jake Hager is stale bread.
Yeah, he is what he is.
Yes. He's the same as Luther. He is what he is. He's going to keep doing the same thing.
Sure.
But what did you think of this match?
It bored me.
I wanted this match to be really good. This is by no means like the worst match I've ever seen, but
you know what? So okay, I think this is a better way to describe it. I remember watching a match with the Outsiders, okay? And they were against Public Enemy. And I was thinking, there's no way in hell that Public Enemy's going to beat Scott Hall and Kevin Nash here.
Right.
But I think Kevin Nash, and probably Scott Hall more than Kevin Nash, maybe, I don't know. But maybe they're like, well, we'll give these guys the rub a little bit. Let them, think that,
We'll give a moment where maybe it's possible.
Yes. But, at the end of the day, they won that match. And I was assuming that Jericho was going to win this match. So.
Right. The moment was the baseball bat.
Yeah.
Gave me a brief moment, be like, I could, like, my mind goes into the thing, be like, I could see Jericho losing on his 30th anniversary just because people don't expect him to. And sure. Luther is a guy that he's friends with, so I can imagine a world where they do that. Sure. Obviously that did not happen here, but they had that brief moment where I was like, well, I don't think this is going to happen, but maybe. Yeah, and then the match is over. So,
yes.
I mean, the thing is, I guess it made Luther or Chaos Project, I guess it made them slightly better in the end, but I don't know. Like, this was.
I'm sorry. I cannot get behind this tag team. Keep them on dark for a little bit longer.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I mean, that's where it needs to be, for sure.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And again, I'm trying to be optimistic. I want them to figure out something that works and is really good. But with this one, I feel like there are a couple things that Luther did. Like he slipped a couple times, and that's going to happen. But some of the moves, it felt very forced, where they were just trying to fit something in, and they could have done anything else, and it would have actually been better. Obviously, it's easy for me to say that sitting there watching it, but
I mean, and you just look at like Jurassic Express and Best Friends. I mean, they're stale at making me want to care about. I mean, but you look at the Lucha Bros, for example. They don't really talk a lot, other than Pentagon keeps saying the one thing over and over again.
Yeah.
But there's just something about their personalities that makes you like, oh, okay, these guys are pretty awesome. I don't know.
Right. Well, they look like superheroes in a way. Like,
maybe
their gear's good. They're exciting in the ring. The other thing is, though, by them not talking, they also don't say anything that turns you off to them.
That's true.
So, and I think that probably for best friends, like, that's not your style. Like, you're not into that thing. If they never talked, there'd be a better chance you might be into them, would be my guess.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, but the Chaos Project and, like, Lucha Express, they don't really talk that much either. But they're just so, plain bread there. This white bread that they're just boring. I don't know,
What I'm doing right now is I'm pointing at my head and sticking my tongue out at you.
Yeah. I'm going to need more than that. I'm sorry.
How about if I scream in an incredibly high-pitched voice at the referee to count?
Yes.
All right. So, this match, I get it because it was for Jericho. That's why it's the main event. Dog collar match probably was the actual main event, I would say.
Sure.
So we get something here at the very end. Jericho, if you ever wondered what a shoot Judas Effect elbow to a clown would look like, I'm pretty sure we got it on this.
Yes.
Because that looked really bad.
It looked like he actually connected with that and knocked the guy out. Yes.
After hitting him in the head with the painting. Someone I saw posted that briefly, or like right before The Rock took over the nation, he had gifted a picture of himself to Farouk.
Yeah,
and they were speculating that might be what's going on here.
Okay.
Are you ready for face Jericho? Or less heel Jericho?
Yeah, I think it's time. Just get him away from the inner circle.
Right. Well, I mean, people.
Created it, I guess.
Yeah, people want to root for Jericho. I think to some respect. As far as wrestling,
let's be honest. Jericho is why AEW is the way it is. I mean, people can say whatever they want about Jericho. If Jericho was not there, AEW would not be where they are right.
I think I have to agree with that.
Yep.
Like, I think they would have done okay, perhaps, if they didn't have Jericho. Assuming that everyone else is there and they don't have Jericho, like, you could probably fit in, I mean, it would be Cody or Kenny, I would think would be your big person at that point, out of everyone they have. So, I think they can do the same. Now, are they as popular as they are? Did they get renewed super early for their TV deal? I don't know if that happens.
Exactly.
Because Jericho was coming off showing up randomly in New Japan, and then coming to AEW. Like, that was a pretty big deal. I don't think you got anybody else that could have generated that buzz that was available. I could be... CM Punk would be the other person that they could have tried to get that was theoretically available.
I don't think... Now, granted, wrestling fans, I don't know. I think Jericho has more connections than CM Punk does, as far as getting people interested,
Right.
Because Jericho's everywhere. I mean, he's on sport, he's on late night, he's on... I don't know, so...
Right, but I'm saying, like, of people available, if you remove Jericho, you have Cody, Kenny, kind of the Bucks, but not really. Like, to someone like us, like, yeah, we're pretty familiar with the Bucks. I mean, we weren't at that time. I didn't know which one was which.
Yes.
But, like, CM Punk, I think, is the only other person you could fill into that slot, though, to try to make a big splash to get, like, that extra little bit of attention. So, yeah, I would say you're right. Like, Jericho is very crucial to that moment in time.
Yep.
Because they could be, because WWE is probably going to counter them with NXT no matter what. Without Jericho being there, that whole ratings thing might be totally separate. Although apparently a vice president and a fly can dominate both of them. So.
Yes. So it's going to be interesting with Jericho's contracts running up. What's going to happen? Because, like you said, this man can easily outdo.
Any offer.
Tony Khan with the money issue. So there's going to need something. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, for Jericho, based on what he says, he seems to enjoy that he can do what he wants, like within some regard, where he's always said, like in WWE, he knows what he's going to be. And he's not going to have the final say.
Well, granted, he's not going to be able to have like 20,000 names like he has in AEW. So,
they're like, look, Chris, you get one name. We're not trademarking it because we technically own it. Yeah, where Jericho like probably owns a lot of what he's done.
Sure.
It would have to be with WWE. So, yeah. I just kind of wonder. It will be real interesting to see the first person to jump from AEW to WWE. It'll be more interesting if that happens, and then the person just comes out and is like, holy crap, I am miserable. This was a bad decision.
Yes. Best friends do it. Do it.
Be the guinea pig. So, all right. I feel like we could probably call it here.
Yeah, we ranted and.
Yes, there was a lot of ranting of various things this week. So yeah, MJF totally taken over Inner Circle. You think?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the only other outcome is that Jericho has sniffed it out, and the Inner Circle just obliterates MJF.
Which would be stupid because you wasted a lot of time and didn't really go anywhere with the story. So,
I mean, you could go somewhere from that where MJF is just now like the heels don't like him and the faces don't like him, so he's like his own separate faction, and then you have Wardlow turn on him, and he's totally outcast.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
all right.
So, we ready to wrap it up here?
Yes.
You want to give people our Twitter and
if you want us on Twitter, mostly we just post the show stuff when it goes up. Sometimes you'll get little bits of stuff here and there. It's at the AOP Podcast. You can go to the website agonyofpositivity.com. That's basically just a player for the show, but it does have a way to send an email to us where you can just type in an email, and it is kind of like anonymous stuff or whatever. So if you don't want to like out yourself. Oh, yeah. What's the Instagram?
I don't know.
Search for Agony of Positivity or the AOP Podcast. It's probably one of the two.
Well, I was going to say that I have not updated it in a while, so
right.
I'm going to start updating it again. So.
Yeah, I've been trying to use the Twitter a little bit more when I have brilliant ideas. So, hey, this is totally unrelated to the show, but I'm just going to leave it on the end here because it's a funny thing. What's up with that hot dog roller grill that barks?
Oh.
Do you have that in possession yet?
I'm going to get it from my sister this evening, so you will have it on Monday.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. So it actually barks when the timer's up?
She says she can't remember. She says it barks or howls when the hot dogs are done.
Either way, there's going to be, once I have that, even if I only use this thing for like one day, there's going to be a video somewhere of this. Because I have stated that one of my life goals is to have a hot dog roller grill.
Well, my wife wants to use it at least once, and we're gonna, when we get it tonight, we're gonna use it and then we'll clean it for you, obviously, and then we'll give it to you, and then you can have fun with it.
Okay, yeah, because I'm basically in the same. I need to use it at least once to experience it, but I'm pretty sure just buying like 2 packs of hot dogs, wake up Saturday morning, throw my hot dogs on there. I used to eat hot dogs all day.
Sure.
Like, look at this. This hot dog is conveniently ready right now, hot, fresh. A little bit less on the fresh. One of those gifts.
I think it was one of those gifts. Like, probably what's going to happen with you. She used it a few times, and it was humorous. But at the end of the day, it's just something cumbersome that's in your house.
Well, and then you pass it on to somebody else, where they're like, "Yeah." Now, what's going to be funny? A year from now, when I exist solely on hot dogs, I'm like, this hot dog roller grill is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
Yes. It's changed my life, folks. Changed my life.
The better part is I have not mentioned this to my wife at all.
Yes.
So, until I have it set up and running, she is not going to be aware. Well, if she listens to the show and somehow makes it to the end, she will know.
Yes.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
All
right.
So
All right,
we'll
everybody. All right. You know what? I'm going to end it today with the horseman laughing.
Horseman laugh.
All right. Later, everybody.